early with GeoSolutions, and today we are introducing GeoNode 5.0. So there will be a brief introduction, a brief overview of what GeoNode is, and then Mattia will be going through and giving a briefing on what's new in GeoNode, showing some examples, etc. So I am joined by Mattia Giapponi, who will be guiding you through GeoNode 5.0. As a introduction to GeoSolutions, for those of you not familiar, we are the core code developers, contributors, maintainers for several popular open source geospatial software projects, namely GeoServer, GeoNode, and MapStore. Today we're covering GeoNode. And in addition to maintaining and supporting these products, obviously we're experts across the entire data engineering pipeline, right? From sensors to analysis. So getting data from sensors all the way through managing the data and getting it to end user applications for visualization and analysis. I'm often asked, well, how do you make money in open source? Well, we build customized solutions, which you see on the far right there, but also support service contracts. So if you're using the open source products that we build and maintain, you can rely on us for support. Also, we have a subscription model, fully hosted subscriptions for WebGIS, and then professional training as well. If you're looking to, beef up the expertise that you have in-house on our products. You see that we work across the globe in a variety of different industries. Here you'll see a lot of Earth observation, climate risk, insurance, reinsurance, engineering, precision agriculture, all levels of government. And the main point here is not only the global reach and expertise that we have, but the expertise that we've developed over 20 plus years of supporting GeoServer, and working in these different verticals. So we've seen a lot of different databases, a lot of different use cases. We've supported the community across a lot of different applications, and we have expertise in pretty much anything geospatial data engineering related, specifically related to the open source products that we develop. This is kind of expands on the idea of getting everything from collecting the data all the way to ingesting into whatever database that you're working with, and then serving that out for analysis and ultimately decision making. So if you have any projects that you're working on regarding the full geospatial data workflow or pipelines, we're here to help you out, and we love to see what kind of projects are being worked on out in the world. We have a team of about 40 staff members, very engineering heavy. Again, a lot of expertise in the company. We've been doing this for over 20 years. Most of our staff members are either steering committee members for these open source projects, so GeoNode, MapStore, GeoServer, and heavily involved in developing and supporting those products. So if you have any questions at all regarding open source, we are a technical knowledge resource for you, and you can reach out to us anytime. Some industry affiliations and events real quick, just so you kind of see, this is kind of US focused, but obviously we'll be in other events in Europe, such as Geospatial World Forum and others. But in the US coming up, we have Fed Geo Day, which is February 22 and 23 at the US Census Bureau this year. That's a good place to see how the federal government is utilizing open source software, as well as open data, especially with everything shifting around with federal government management of open data platforms, and the resiliency of those and who's managing them. We also have the GeoWint Symposium coming up in May in Denver. As you can see, we're OSGeo members and heavily engaged in the community and supporting the community. A lot of what I do is community outreach and community building and tying users together so they can talk to each other and just help speed up the knowledge transfer process and help educate folks on open source, maybe some specifics around projects that you're working on that others have already done. For example, OGC, obviously we are key members of OGC and very in tune with upcoming new standards and implementing those into our products, as well as helping to define some of those open standards. USGIF, that's United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation. That ties into the GeoInt Symposium event that we're doing in May. So the GeoInt community is a heavy user of open source, and we're here to support the GeoInt community as well. And then World Geospatial Industry Council is a very good global industry organization, if you're not familiar with it. They track a lot of trends, et cetera, across the geospatial community, from sensors to software, data, et cetera. So I highly recommend that you check out these industry affiliations to stay tuned with different things. And then obviously, as a resource, you have our website, geosolutionsgroup.com. If you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me directly or email info@geosolutionsgroup.com. We have a YouTube channel where all of our webinars are recorded, including this one. That's if you go to YouTube and search GeoSolutions Group, you will find all of our past webinars there. That's a good educational resource. And then we also have a newsletter and a blog as well, which you can access from our website. Oh, so with that, I will pass it over to Mattia. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to post those. I believe there's a Q&A section down in the panel. Looks like a couple of questions have already been submitted, and we will address those at the end of Mattia's presentation. So with that, Mattia, we'll pass it over to you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Should be visible, I guess.
Yes,
Okay.
I see it.
So let me turn on the camera too. Okay. So hi everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Mattia. I'm one of the main developers in GeoNode, along with other few engineers also in GeoSolution. Before going through the changes that the new release of GeoNode 5 introduced, I would like to give a quick recap on what is GeoNode, what is his main place in the market, and which are the main features that GeoNode offers as a platform. So starting by on what is GeoNode. So GeoNode is of course an open source platform. Is designed to allow the user with not much experience in geospatial data management to be able to upload, manage data, spatial data, and be able to also edit the data or edit those data, manage the metadata, and be able to analyze the information that are present and uploaded by user in the platform. We have different resources in GeoNode that can be easily summarized in these categories. So we have what is called the datasets, documents, map, geostories, and dashboard. So for dataset, it's easily related on any data which contains a spatial geometry, which could be raster, so as a TIFF image, or a vector file. And here in the list, you will see a few of the extensions that are supported. As a document says, classified everything that doesn't contain any spatial data. We have more than 50 extensions that are supported, but this list can always be improved and expanded. Then there are the maps. Okay, maps, it's none other than an agglomerate of all the data sets in a single place. So it's really helpful when you want to have multiple layers and see how they interact with each other. The GeoStories, it's more or less what can be described as a PowerPoint in GeoNode. It will allow you to present your data in an interactive way, so it's possible to add images, video, maps that are also engageable for the user directly in the platform. In the end, there are the dashboards, which is more the analytical part. It's a fantastic way to be able to see your spatial data in a more analytic way with graph tables and so on. So why GeoNode? When the user should use GeoNode? There are different use cases. Of course, if my selection of user is not an expert in the spatial managing of the data. It's the perfect solution. It's an easy platform. It's extremely user-friendly for this, especially GeoNode compared to other platforms will also allow you to have a really deep metadata management that most of the platform doesn't have. It will allow you to have a really deep security organization on the permission level, so which user can see what he can do on that resource, and so on. Of course, it's open source, but GeoNode could be also uh, decided to not be shared with the user, but of course we always prefer that these data are also shared with all the users. But of course, if someone wants, all the catalog can be hidden. Uh, there is the visualization on the map that some other platform doesn't allow to have. Image if you have 10 different data sets that can somehow interact one with the other and having them and seeing them in a single place. And of course, if you really need a more analytic approach on your data, like for the dashboards, this could be really helpful for the user. So now I would like to show you a couple of examples of real GeoNode that are in action. So in GeoSolution, we have a couple of public demo, which are the stabledemo.geonode.org, which is the latest release. Okay, so in this case, our stable demo is running on the GeoNode 5.01, which is the one we are actually presenting in this webinar. And then we have the development demo, which contained the latest development. So it's, as the name suggests, it's a development one, so it's not supposed to be production ready, but it's a perfect way to see in action what are the newest features that are developed and deployed. So just to give a quick presentation, so we have all the resources that we just went through. So we have the data sets, which are the data with spatial information. Now I'm just opening some random data set. As you can see, the map is easily navigatable, it's queryable. I can have all the information that the user requires to see, and so on. For documents, we have what it could be none other than images, PDF, and many other kind of resources. Even here, all the information available, all the user upload, the share options, as we can see earlier. So there is a really a lot of stuff that it's happening in GeoNode, and it's quite a really interesting tool to work with. Last but not least, the maps. So as we said earlier, it's an agglomerate of different data set. As we can see here, we have two different data set which interact one to the other. Everything is visible, everything is in one place. So it's perfect to evaluate how the different data set interact one with the other. Um, Other than this table demo, I would like to show you another couple of examples, which I found extremely interesting. Because as you can see, GeoNode, it's a standard tool, but doesn't mean that needs to be in the standard. GeoNode allows the user to personalize not just the code behind it, but also the view. So here we have a standard deployment in GeoNode. This is an Italian municipality, the province of Treviso. As you can see, everything is public. And this is the standard installation of GeoNode. Just to give you another example of what could be customization, we have this other example. So as you can see, this is already GeoNode 5. It's been recently deployed, but you can see that GeoNodes allow the user, and especially the one that will develop on the GeoNode, to be able to completely customize, which is the interface of GeoNode. The customization, of course, doesn't stop only in the interface. Also, new data, new information can be allowed, new API, and so on. So this is more or less a few information on what is GeoNode. Okay, here you will see another example. This is another Italian municipality. As you can see, the template is completely customizable, and it will allow the person that actually use GeoNode to decide how to personalize it. So this is what more or less a brief overview of what is GeoNode. There are tons of extra information that can be provided of GeoNode if you really want to go in detail, but I would like to show which are the new information and the new stuff that has been released and deployed and developed with GeoNode 5. So the first one, and that is probably the most effective on UI point of view, is that we finally renewed the UI. We redesigned it a bit, trying to focusing on more the user experience rather than how to make it look pretty. Okay, let's be honest. The user needs to have a really strong sense and find the platform really easy to use in order to have a clear and usability, clarity, consistency on the visualization and so on. But of course, on the other side, that it's more for the developer, this allows us also to be able to customize the layout uh, in a more deeper way, allowing the developer to achieve customization that earlier were not possible. Um, Another really important thing, which it's more on the user point of view, it's the new metadata engine. As you can see here in the image that is scrolling, this was the previous metadata editor, which probably few of you already have if they already use GeoNode for 4. This metadata editor was extremely difficult to maintain because a few information were completely hard-coded in the code, which make customization really complicated. So we decided to try a different approach, try to make the metadata editor, which is one of the key features of GeoNode, more easy to use for the user and easier to maintain for the developer and easier customizable for the client's need. This is a brief overview of the new metadata engine. Uh, Finally, it goes through a new standard, which is JSON schema, which allow the client to be able to render the metadata template as you see, which is the big difference even from the first impact. There is less panels, less constraint. There is no hard-coded code, which is one of the most important things for maintainability in the long run. It's also possible to adapt the metadata schema in a more straightforward way compared to what it was done with the previous metadata engine. What does it mean? It means that, for example, there are different standards of metadata, like could be the Inspire or the RNDT profile for the, for example, the Italian municipality. It's really easy to now include this information inside the GeoNode, while earlier was quite complicated and it would require always a development in order to do that. With the new metadata editor, all of these, it's way more easy to achieve. So this is a huge step forward for the GeoNode metadata handling. Another small improvement that has been done has been the introduction of PyCSW3 in the beta version. Still in beta version because the version 3 has not been officially published yet on the PyCSW point of view. But this is again another step forward to always be able to support the new OGC API. Of course, there are sorry, I just thought. There are other announcements that have been introduced. One that was really high requested was to be able for the user to finally have again the replace of an existing dataset. The dataset replace was removed in the earlier version of GeoNode 4 for a problem with the consistency of the data. This has finally been fixed, reviewed, and redeployed. With replacing existing dataset, we mean that it's possible for the user, okay, to completely overwrite an existing resource that earlier was not, that maybe is wrong, maybe it was uploaded with the wrong data. Uh, but it will allow now the user to completely override the existing resource, maintaining which was the initial information of the resource itself. Um, there was also introduced a newer enhancement that it's vulgarly called upsert. What does it mean? It means that for the vector dataset, it's now possible to re-upload additional information, so to update the dataset directly without the need to delete the information and re-upload everything again. In practical, it means that assume that you have a vector dataset where you want to update just one row or one feature of your dataset inside GeoNode. Earlier, the only solution was to delete the dataset and re-import again completely the dataset. This is no longer required because you can go in upsert, which means that if your feature already exists, the information will be updated. Okay, so this is really helpful when you have a dataset with 10,000 features and need to update one. Extremely helpful from that point of view. But if you want to add, if you want to append additional information in the dataset, you can easily also add. So the upsert works in this way: update what exists and creates what does not exist. Which means that if you have, again, a dataset with 10,000 rows and you just want to add 3 additional features to it, you can easily use the the upsert to achieve this. This was a highly requested feature, and we were able finally to have it introduced with GeoNode 5. It's still I will not say beta, but we actually ask everyone to test it, to try it, because this is a great feature that will really simplify the workflows. So any feedback on this, it's always appreciated. There was also a huge improvement on the data quality with the constraints. We finally upgrade the version of GeoServer along with GeoNode. We reached the 227.4. That supports one important thing, that it's the field level constraint, that it's valid, of course, only for the vector dataset. What does it mean? It means that from GeoNode it's possible to define, okay, an empty dataset, define which are the attributes of this dataset, and constraints that are mandatory to consider the dataset valid. In few words, in the example that we're seeing now in the GIF, we define an integer field, and we want that the value of that field must have a range that is between 1 and 3, which means that any data, any value that is outside that range is not considered valid for our dataset. This allows, especially the administrator, to have a more robust and consistent validation constraint. This was not possible earlier because the GeoServer version was not aligned correctly with GeoNode. Now with GeoNode 5, we finally release this part in GeoNode, and we also upgraded the GeoServer version. Of course, this feature is not possible to do it only from the UI, but it's also possible to make it via JSON schema, which is the same standard that has been defined for the metadata editor. What does it mean? It means that as a user, if I need to create this constraint, I can define offline a JSON schema, which is none other than a JSON file with all the information closed, and be able to import it in GeoNode. This is perfect when you need to apply this constraint. Maybe you have 2, 4, 5 installation of GeoNode, you want to recreate it, you can just create a JSON schema and recreate the same dataset everywhere in your instances. The JSON schema also allows the user to follow a specific standard without customization, and if it's a standard, can be reused also in other parts and in other platforms. Another important thing that I already mentioned earlier, there was a big refactor and a big renewal of the permission systems. Earlier, the permission system was quite fixed. It was a little complicated to extend these permissions. But now, finally, with the GeoNode 5, it's possible to introduce a new dynamic rule-based permission system, which is more flexible than it was before. So if you need to generate specific rule base on your system, now GeoNode 5 allow you to define them in a easier way and more dynamic way. Of course, there are also other updates that are not just for the how to manage the datasets. Has been introduced also two new download formats, which are the Excel and the CSV format, which earlier were not available. This is simplify for the final user eventual analysis integration with external tools. As an experience, having something on an Excel file, most of the time it's really helpful for the analysis because, of course, once everything is in Excel, almost everything is possible to be done on the analysis side. Another big change, and this is probably the biggest change on the architectural point of view of GeoNode, has been the introduction of Redis instead of RabbitMQ for the interaction with Celery for the asynchronous task in the platform. The introduction of Redis, it's the only big breaking change in GeoNode 5 compared to the previous version of 4 because it requires some migration on, first of all, the system itself and some environment. All the steps required in order to upgrade it are defined in the migration guidelines that are published in the GeoNode repository. This is the only big breaking changes that has been introduced, but it's now allow us to be to use a more modern system and to be able to offer a better and a more robust result backend in GeoNode. A big part of GeoNode that most of the time is hidden, it's the harvesting system. The harvesting system, it's a way to let GeoNode be able in a synchronous wave to import external information, external dataset into the platform in an asynchronous way. The harvesting system existed since the first release of GeoNode 4. We finally had some time to review all of it, to make it more stable, to make it more powerful, faster, especially, and easier to operate for the users. One of the issues that the harvesting was having was the expiration of the tasks, which means that if you had to import big external services inside GeoNode, the expiration was always behind the corner. With the huge work was done on this, so now the expiry time is completely dynamic and is based on the size of the external service. And was also add a new monitoring layer, okay, to be sure to avoid that the harvesting sessions, so the background work that was done, got stuck for any external reasons that were not under the end of GeoNode. Of course, all of this was not possible without a big update on the platform itself, especially for the infrastructure-wise. So we made a few updates, which first of all is the GeoNode plugin for QGIS has been updated to work with the GeoNode 5, since earlier was not possible. We finally updated the Ubuntu release to the latest LTS, which was 24.4. As I was mentioned earlier, PyCSW 3 beta and Redis are finally inside GeoNode for the OGC API and for the infrastructure modernization and stability. Django has been updated to the version 5.2, which is the latest LTS that Django provides, since GeoNode works under the Django ecosystem. Last but not least, thanks also to the upgrade of Ubuntu, we finally upgrade also the minimum required of Python version, which is the 3.12. All of these upgrade was propedeutic in order to be able to also develop everything else I just showed you. So finally, with GeoNode 5, we are in a really modern and stable platform also software-wise. I just spoke about the changes in GeoNode, but as it's known, GeoNode includes MapStore. MapStore is another GeoSolutions platform where we are main maintainers, and MapStore is taking care of managing the part that it's visualizable. So as I was saying before, we finally aligned the new open page, so to make it more easier for the user, more straightforward, more modern, and even faster. Let's also put it in that way. Along with this, a new plugin was introduced in MapStore, which introduced the ability to calculate and visualize the itinerary between two or more points. So to have a kind of routing service. As you can see here from the screenshot, we have the 2 points and the itinerary it's shown. Another plugin was the isochrone plugin, which allows the user to draw a reachability area around a selected point. As you can see here, there is a small example. We have the main point and or the area around it. It was also, since GeoNode 4, we are introducing the support for the 3D tiles. So there was another update on that point of view. So the imagery layer overlay for the 3D tiles, which allows to render layer like the OMS on top of a 3D tile, as is visible in the image. Last but not least, there is the interactive and dynamic legend, okay, as is visible here from the map, which allow the user to filter data by clicking on the legend items directly, which is extremely helpful for big data sets when you have a really complex legend. This filtering, it's really helpful to isolate area of interest in your case. Then there was the announcement on a Terrain layer selector, which allowed the user to select a Terrain 3D visualization from the UI, which enhanced the control over the elevation and landscape detail. So this was explanation what was added in GeoNode 5. As you can see, GeoNode 5 introduced a lot of new features. A lot of work has been done by the team in order to reach this point. GeoNode 5, it's a really big milestone for us, especially since, at least for me, since I work since the release of GeoNode 3. GeoNode 5 includes a lot of different features that are extremely helpful for our daily-to-day use and so on. But we are not happy. There is always a way to improve everything. So we already are working on new features to improve GeoNode 5.01. Into the next release will probably be GeoNode 5.1. So what's next? The metadata for now are not multilingual, so we want to add the possibility to allow the metadata values itself to be translatable, so to include and to bring a multilingual support on them. To be able to allow the user to upload not only spatial data, but also a tabular data set, okay? This is still work. Of course, whatever I'm saying now, it's still a work in progress. A few of them are under development, and they will be soon be merged in the master branch. In the end, we're also working on the geolocated documents. So this will also allow the user to be able to define where is the geolocation of a document inside the map, and so on. We're also working on a really requested feature, which is the printing. The printing service will be extended and will be improved on this. It's still a work in progress, even the printing, but it will completely revolutionize how GeoNode and MapStore handle the printing of the data sets. And of course, in the modern infrastructure, the high availability is always a highly requested feature. GeoNode already have a small example of high availability, but we really want to be sure that GeoNode is able to scale whenever it's required, also along with the Kubernetes deployment, clustering, and so on. With the new year, we are also working to review a bit what is the PSG of GeoNode. So there will be the new election coming on soon. The PSG, for who doesn't know, it's the committee team that votes for the new project policies, for the new feature, for the changes inside the GeoNode repository. Of course, the process is already started. It started in January, and it will be a continuous process for another few weeks. And of course, this will also hope that the community will be involved inside this ESPC, and we really hope that the community will be active on helping with the decision and to propose new feature of for GeoNode itself. Here in the last slide, I added few information, which are the two version deployed of GeoNode. So again, the stable version is the latest release of GeoNode. So in this case, is the 5.0.1, which is the one we just presented. While the development demo includes the latest development of GeoNode that are not released yet. I also pasted the GitHub repository of GeoNode, where whatever issue it's find, you can open issue, you can open pull request. If you are willing to participate in the development of GeoNode itself, we strongly recommend to go through the GitHub repository and read the guidelines. We are always looking for someone that wants to participate in the project. And last but not least, it's the official documentation on what GeoNode offers, how to customize the settings, how it works, the installation information, and so on. I think I'm done. I don't know, Ryan, if you wanna take back. Thanks, guys. I hope that it was enough interesting, and I will let it to you now, Ryan.
Thanks, Mattia. Very informative. Good stuff. We've got a stack of maybe looks like 9 questions, which I think we should address from maybe simplicity to the more complex ones, if that makes sense. So anything that's more complex, I do want to make sure you guys are aware that you can email either info@geosolutionsgroup.com or the support community pages as well for GeoNode, which I believe is geonode.org. But for some of these more basic ones, we should be able to address these fairly quickly. Marcelo Villarroel, he asked which version of Django should be installed for the installation of GeoNode 5, and I believe you said that was 5.2.
Yes, GeoNode 5, it's 5.2.
Okay. Hugo Herodor asked how GeoServer and GeoNode are related. Is GeoNode shipped with its own GeoServer? He would like to use his own instance where he already has services in GeoServer already set up. Is that something that he can just integrate with GeoNode 5, or would he need to port everything over to the GeoServer that's packaged with GeoNode 5?
So in general, GeoNode with the default installation via Docker ship its own GeoServer because there are a couple of plugins that needs to be available for make the communication works. But there is no issue in including your own GeoServer. There are a few ways to do that. If you install the required plugin, you can use your GeoServer directly to communicate with GeoNode. Or if you want, you can also import your data set from your external GeoServer into GeoNode, which is exactly what the harvester are there for. So all the improvement that we recently done on the harvester, that will be perfect to manage this.
Excellent. Thanks, Mattia. Miscale Silonga asks, is it possible to import the metadata which is exported from QGIS? So if somebody has metadata in QGIS, is there kind of an automated way to import the metadata from
If
QGIS into?
it's an XML file and it's one of the standard that GeoNodes allow you to upload, because you can also upload the metadata via an XML file. Yeah, it's possible. As soon as it's one of the standard that it's supported in GeoNode, which is, if I'm not wrong, it's Inspire and Dublin Core for now. Consider that it's always possible in case if it's this is a general thing, if it's a really customized metadata file, it's also possible to define via code a way to convert your file into a metadata GeoNode-like file. Then it will be possible also to upload through that platform.
Okay, excellent. And for the past two questions, is it safe to assume that there's more information in the documentation?
Yes, of course.
Okay, excellent. Carlos Eduardo Mota asks, how much time do we have to finish? I believe that's Portuguese to Brazilian translation to make it available on version 5.1.
I think the delivery time of the 5.1 has been not decided yet. I have to ask to Giovanni if he knows more or less the timeline, but I don't know exactly when it will be delivered. Did you know 5.1? So I don't have an answer now.
All right, Carlos, we'll get back to you on when to expect that. Hugo Herodor asks, what are the differences between GeoNode and GeoNetwork? He provides some more detail. I doubt which one, he's questioning which one to use scenario where he has to sort services out depending on projects and categories. So users see metadata and grep URL to use them. He's not interested in dashboards or geostories. So maybe when to use GeoNetwork via when to use or versus when to use GeoNode.
Well, as I was saying earlier, GeoNode it's meant for not experienced users. So if your plan is to open the platform for users to upload and share the data, GeoNode is for sure the best approach to do that. Then it really depends on exactly what you really need to do. And I think that if you want your user to be completely independent on uploading and managing the data, GeoNode is for sure the best option on what you want to do.
Okay. Next question. We've got, let's see, Amadeo Fedini asks, are there any changes that are not compatible with the previous version? Will the update from 4.3 be a straightforward process to 5.0?
It should be. We always suggest to do a step upgrade first to GeoNode 4.4 and then to GeoNode 5 to be sure that everything is compatible. So always better to do an international intermediate step because GeoNode 4.4 prepares some information to make the upgrade to GeoNode 5 easier. So I will always suggest to reach first of all 4.4, in this case, and then upgrade to GeoNode 5.
Excellent. Thanks, Mattia. Let's see. Alessio Cruciani asks, regarding the product roadmap, it's not clear how GeoNode will relate to the Map Store roadmap. Which is the GeoSolutions plans for the two products? Are they developed separately? Are they in different roadmaps? Or are they kind
Yeah,
of developed?
they are developed separately, but the plan, even with GeoNode 5, has been already done. Is to try to keep the two releases as closer as possible, especially during the major upgrades, to be able to offer the newest changes in Map Store also in GeoNode.
Excellent. Let's see. Giuliano Grigolin asks, are you testing GeoServer Cloud for future versions?
Not yet. It's not yet on the roadmap, but in case, yes, we can go back on these later because I'm not sure on how to correctly apply on this. But personally, I didn't test it yet. Let's say it in that way.
Roger that. Luis Andrea Navano asks, could you provide some reference repository to run GeoNode on Kubernetes? If not, then I would like to ask, what is the way to scale GeoServer for GeoNode?
I think there are a couple of repositories for the Helm chart of GeoNode in Kubernetes, which again, of GeoNode, since it's an open source project, you can find them online. The way to scale a GeoServer for GeoNode, there is the GeoServer cluster plugin, which can be used. So probably that is the best way to go through it.
Excellent. And Lewis, if that doesn't answer your question, as well as others, feel free to reach out to us and we can provide more info on that. Let's see. Andrea Vianello asks, compatibility for metadata with stack format in the future.
As far as I know, no. But there is no limit on what the metadata can be managed, so there is always possible to improve the metadata part. So why not? There is no limit on the format that GeoNode can support as soon as there is an handler behind that takes care of that. So there is nothing in roadmap for now, but it can be improved with the correct sponsorship.
Thank you for that. Let's see. Andrea Vianello asks, okay, GeoNode 4.x update from GeoNode 4.x is simple, question mark. And I think you addressed that.
It's not that simple for a few reasons, as I was saying earlier. So better always to upgrade to the 4.4 for prepare the data to be able to do that jump on migration. As I was saying earlier, the introduction of Redis is something that create a breaking changes. So you have also to be sure that the infrastructure is adapted as it should be. Few information on how correctly performing the upgrade are inside the GeoNode repository. We made a small text on a small migration guidelines to be able to upgrade to GeoNode 5. So you can also give a check on that.
Roger that. Let's see. Back to GeoNode and Kubernetes. Emanuele Ocano asks, since you mentioned it, can you provide some more detail on the plan about GeoNode and Kubernetes? I believe there's a German user group project about it already, which is GeoNode user group DE GeoNode K8s, which is already working on updating charts to version 5. Do we have a plan for that?
I don't think I'm the correct person to reply on that about the possible plan on working on the GeoNode for Kubernetes. As I was saying, in the end of the day, GeoNode is an open source project, so all the contribution out of how to improve GeoNode are always welcome. So we might need to test this GeoNode for Kubernetes and maybe in the future also contribute on that repository. Doesn't mean that we have to create our own M chart. So since GeoNode, again, it's an open source project. So if we are not the only one to work on that, and if they are willing to cooperate with us in order to improve GeoNode itself, we might look at that on that repository.
All right, thanks, Mattia. Let's see. We've got David McGee. David asks, any docs on overlay 3D tiles with WMS and GeoNode 5?
The documentation, it's still in progress. We are working on that. We are also trying to update and make it more lightweight, the documentation with GeoNode 5. That was a goal, but luckily it was not reached yet. So for sure it will be added as soon as possible.
Got it. Thanks for the question, David. Let's see. Here are the two more complicated ones. So Miscale Mislonga is asking, can you try to demo the styling of the data visualization? And that, if we don't have time for that, that might be something that we've performed in a previous webinar, or we might have other resources on that. I don't know, Mattia, what do you think?
We can do a quick demo, really quick one, just a couple of minutes.
Okay, cool.
Let me just try to. I will do it through the stable demo, so it's easier. So I'm just opening a random data set. Maybe it's better if I sign in first. Okay, so the easiest way to manage it, it's going in edit style. Here will be open the styling editor for this. So let's click on edit style. So here you have two choices. The first one is to the XML related to the style, or since GeoNode again, it's extremely user-friendly, you can also switch to the visual editor. Okay, this will allow you to even not know exactly what is the XML code behind it and be able to style the dataset directly from here. So here you can decide and change the styling itself and so on. Once you're done, you can click save the style. Of course, this is a really quick one. I invite you to upload something on the stable demo. Since you will be the owner of the resource, you can come here and have fun and try to work with styling and play with that. So once you save the style has been edited, and this from this moment on is going to be the style of your dataset. Okay.
Cool. Thanks for the question, Miscale. Zivan Karaman asks, is there where can we find latest details on how to overwrite an existing data set using the API? and then Zavon provides some more detail there that you might want to read through.
So let me just read it. Okay. So on how to update the data set, should be updated with the GeoNode 5 version. Um, So the big change that has been done in the replace via API is that it no longer rely on the name like it was doing with the previous version, but it's relying with the primary key of the dataset itself. This will allow to be sure that you are actually targeting the resource you really want to overwrite. I guess some changes and some update has been done recently on that, on the documentation, I mean, for the replace. Maybe we can send the link of the doc later today, along with the recording case. But the documentation has been updated recently, so it should be also recently tested, so it should be still working. In any way, in the documentation, in the new one that we are creating, and it should be already available online. The overwrite has been reworked, and you have to change a bit the payload that you're using by specifying the primary key of the dataset, no longer the name, as it was in the previous versions. So you should give another check to the documentation since it has been recently updated. That's what I can suggest for now.
Excellent. Thanks, Mattia. And Savon, thanks for the question, and let us know if that does not address your question or if you're unable to find where that's at in the docs. Let's see. George Karanidis asks, are there plans for GeoNode to provide vector data editing from within fields coming from other non-geometry tables or field types like radio buttons, checkboxes, etc.?
I don't think that this is in roadmap for now, but we might give a thought on that maybe in the future.
Let's see. Hugo Herdor asks another question. Let's see. Can we maintain vector tiles engine harvested? There might be some typos in there. Yeah,
I think it's a kind of vector tile, but no, for now there is no engine able to harvest them. Again, if it's required, it can be created and maybe could be included in the core repository.
okay. Let's see. We answered this. I'm aware of this primarily GeoServer related question. We have an anonymous question. Do you have a recommended configuration or best practices for synchronizing the catalog config across multiple instances in a clustered environment? And that's a GeoServer related.
Yeah, it's more on the GeoServer of or the DevOps side. I don't know now how to reply on that. Might need to go through some online documentation to be able to provide you some hint on how to manage it. So right now I'm sorry, but I cannot help you.
Roger that. I believe that's it for questions, unless anybody else has any questions. I do want to
Sorry, Brian.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Giovanni from GeoSolutions. I wanted just to add a couple of words about GeoServer, GeoNode, and Kubernetes. So there were many questions on this. Actually, we are developing and testing Helm chart for GeoNode. We already have internal previews and and working environments running on Kubernetes based on Helm chart that has been recently updated to GeoNode 5 too, because there was a change into the services, and we are, as was mentioned, we have migrated from RabbitMQ to Redis as one of the broker service behind GeoNode. So we have been testing also the scaling of Redis inside this Kubernetes setup. And in this, we have experience with the scaling of GeoNode services, in particular clustering of GeoServer and clustering of Postgres instances through pgpool and other similar solutions, and also the Redis backend. So the Helm chart is currently under active development. We haven't released it as an official Helm chart yet, but we have real context where we are testing for production. So I'm pretty sure that along this year there will be news on this. Also for the GeoServer cloud connection to the GeoServer cloud. So stay tuned, because probably in 2026 we will start releasing something official for that.
That's great. Thanks, Giovanni. Thanks for being on the call. Those were two pretty common kind of capability requests, so that's good to know that's on the product radar. Yeah, I believe that's it. Is there any other last statements, Mattia or Giovanni? Simone?
Yep. Can you hear me, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me, Ryan?
Yep.
A few things. So I was taking notes on what people were asking, some of the most interesting questions. So a few things, and Giovanni, correct me if I'm wrong. The relationship between GeoNode and Mapstore. GeoNode and Mapstore have been, let's say, growing and developed up to a certain extent in isolation. Nowadays, we are actually pushing in a direction to, I wouldn't say fuse them in the short term, but to be more aligned, not only in terms of the versions. So GeoNode is actually following Mapstore much more closely than in the past, and the same thing it's happening also for GeoServer. We are trying to use more recent versions of GeoServer. We're not actually following too closely, but relatively closely. Like soon we will jump onto 28, for example, for GeoServer, and same goes with Mapstore. The important thing is that now Giovanni is part of the new Mapstore PSC, and one of the PSC member of Mapstore is actually a member of and will be a member of the GeoNode PSC. Why? Because we want the two projects to work more closely and be more aligned, because there is a lot of work on Mapstore that is percolating on GeoNode, but also the opposite. There are people that are asking things on GeoNode that requires development of Mapstore, and one of the goals is actually to make the development of new advanced features for the GeoNode UI that depends on Mapstore easier to do. Okay. So that's the general idea on the various projects. We are trying to make them, let's say, work more closely together also in terms of planning. Obviously, there are people that are only using GeoServer, people that are only using Mapstore, so there is also a certain tendency of going in a slightly different direction that we are trying to avoid and we are trying to coordinate. About the scaling, I think Giovanni already touched it. We have a number of installations where we are using active clustering, so-called, for GeoServer. So we have multiple instances in parallel, active. Okay, because I mean, you can actually relatively easily configure GeoServer to work in active, passive, and have a relatively smaller clustering in GeoNode. But the best thing is to have active, and for that we have been using in production, not yet GeoServer Cloud. We always have relied on existing plugins from GeoServer. We have been working with GeoServer Cloud with some of our customers. We are still not completely happy with the use cases that we have. we have started to contribute a number of enhancements. It's a nice project. So in the future, we might start relying directly on GeoServer Cloud, but it's not going to happen anytime soon, like 3 or 6 months. This is probably next year or end of the year as the GeoServer Cloud will mature more and more, even because it's not so easy to deploy itself. So we don't want to make GeoNode even more complicated. So the simplest way as of today to scale GeoNode, which means also to scale GeoServer, because that's usually the most important thing to scale, is to rely on one of the existing active clustering plugin, and we tend to use JDBC config for this, okay? Which is the one plugin that's been around for a while that relies also on having the configuration in PostgreSQL. There was another thing that I wanted to say, but I forgot. Let me see, because I cannot even read my own notes. I guess that's more or less it. Giovanni already covered the Kubernetes part. That's pretty important for us, and you will see news and new stuff relatively soon. There has been quite some development in the last 1 year and a half on both Mapster and GeoNode. Some things that are part already of the latest version of Mapster are not yet on GeoNode 5. So you will see probably another sizable release of GeoNode in the near future in order to catch up with things that we've done also on the Mapster side. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Simone. Thanks, Giovanni and Simone, for joining us. And thank you all for attending. As always, if you have any additional questions, just reach out to us, contact us, info@geosolutionsgroup.com. We will be posting this webinar on our YouTube channel. That's GeoSolutions Group within YouTube. And again, stay tuned on LinkedIn from our website. You can subscribe to our newsletter, and we publish a blog periodically as well. So that's a good way to stay in touch with us. Again, we're always interested in learning how you're implementing open source projects or products in your projects and what's going on out there. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. And with that, thanks again, Mattia, for the insightful overview. And that's it for now. Stay tuned for future webinars, which will be coming up in the next month or so. Thanks, everyone.